Girly Colours in office and college wear kurtis price starts from 299. Visit girlycolors.in.
MadRabbit, India's finest audio wearable brand, starting at 999.
One thing that interests you in Vijay sir na idu sir?
I think the spontaneity that he brings in, I think, and it's unexpected. He uses the ambience.
Vijay sir and Sneha ma'am oda வீட்ல வந்து வசீகரா oda frame ஒன்னு இருக்கும்.
The cinematography is about what is to be seen, what is not to be seen again. It's like a meta thing also, right? That adds a little bit of, that masala and solvanga, that little bit of, seasoning. If you take before the pre-climax sequence where Mohan sir is facing off Vijay sir's character, we shot it in a broken mill in Pondicherry. The beauty of that is that place was built in 1600s. They have built it so beautifully. They designed that building according to the sun. It's like The Family Man meets Jason Bourne meets Mission Impossible was my reference for the film. If you look at the visual grammar of it. Obviously the action sequences are all stylized. If you look at Jason Bourne Identity, it is one of my favorite films. And Matta song I shot with Blackwing 7 lenses.
I need this technology for cinematography. Initial.
Yeah, we obviously had to do movement for double action. So we use the Mokobot for that. So because Mokobot can we can program the movement.
So any special tricks that has been made for this film? So like we could see many fast moving shots.
We had used something called the Russian arm, which is like a very Hollywood equipment. When we shot the Moscow chase sequence, we used the Russian arm to film them. So what the Russian arm is basically, it's like a Jimmy Jib on a very sturdy Jimmy Jib on a car.
The miniature train.
It had to be a mixed reality kind of shoot because we obviously don't have permission to shoot inside the train. That would have taken a lot of time. We shot in real location in Tunisia with the train in the desert, in the Sahara desert, and we did miniature for the explosions. The Chepoks of the climax is the key part of it, and we've treated it very really. We shot the climax sequence in Trivandrum Cricket Stadium and Chepok, and also the set.
Teenage version of Vijay sir has the face tracking, if I'm not wrong.
The VFX didn't need the tracking points, so I think technology has moved on. That was deep fake AI, if I'm not wrong. I think it's one of those AI technologies.
Cameraman than the first audience in சொல்லுவாங்க எப்பவுமே. So watching Vijay sir's performance in the monitor, when you watch Vijay sir's performance, one thing that interests you in Vijay sir na idu sir?
I think the spontaneity that he brings in, I think, and it's unexpected. And I think that also motivates the camera in a certain way. So it's like a dance, right? So it's like, I think, spontaneity, because sir is very, very rehearsed. Like I think he gets the script beforehand, he prepares and comes in prepared for the set. So he already knows his lines, but from there he takes off. He uses the ambience, like, okay, ingoru door irukku, okay, I can do this. So he does that. So he knows his lines, and then he comes, he sees, okay, this is where we're shooting, and he knows where the camera is. And sometimes he even comes and say, can we do this, like, so that also, so it's like a dance. So he's very well aware of like what the camera is doing, and uses the ambience, the world, the house. So if it's a house set, it's a house, or if there's a prop anywhere, so he's like, okay, how? So I like that. It was quite fascinating to see that, actually, to the improvisational Vijay sir, and I think it was beautiful. Yeah.
While Vijay sir and Sneha ma'am oda வீட்ல வந்து வசீகரா oda frame ஒன்னு இருக்கும். So was it the creative part, and how was the initial thought? அவரு சொல்லும்போது what was the initial thought? It's a creative thing.
Yeah, I mean, see, this is the production design obviously has incorporated these elements into the. So my job is to make like. So that's what I'm also very inspired by the world around me. So, for example, if you remember the living room sequence, right? We use a certain kind of lensing so the picture is in the background.
Yeah.
Right. So it's like you use it's about the camera is about, the cinematography is about what is to be seen, what is not to be seen again. It's as simple as that. So that's in the background, so that that this. It's like a meta thing also, right? So you're also insinuating about the history of the filmography of Vijay sir and Sneha ma'am, but also we're incorporating it into this world. It becomes very meta. So it's like, so the camera is trying to build that drama a little bit more, add that one more layer.
Exactly. A
Right?
free takeaway metadata kind of.
Yeah, it's like it's like one more layer of, it's like texturing, right? Yeah, adding a layer of texture, a layer to the film. Yeah, it's like telling the story without a dialogue. So in the same way, in this living room scene, the picture is the background that adds a little bit of, that masala and solvanga, that little bit of, seasoning in the
Topping.
Yeah.
The master stuff.
Yes.
Okay, good.
Yeah.
Jumping where locations, இன்னைக்கு ஒரு ஷோ ஒரு இடத்துல, நாளைக்கு ஒரு இடத்துல, you are jumping locations போது every landscape has a certain weather, certain color, certain mood. But everything படமா பார்க்கும்போது what mood I want to மாஸ்கோலையோ அதே மூட் தான் எனக்கு சென்னையிலையும் கிடைக்குது, அதே மூட் தான் எனக்கு தாய்லாண்ட்லையும் கிடைக்குது. ஸோ how did you work with this lighting and maintaining the aspects and moods of the films?
That's what I think. If you follow the character, if you follow the subject, if you treat the scene how they see the world, how what they are experiencing, right? It's so cinematography is about storytelling and bringing the world of that character alive. And generally, I like to keep the action very close to the subject. Generally, if you see it, we don't do too many wides. Generally, what would be a wide shot and then cut to a close. And the Madhu grammar illama, I want to, because I come from a documentary background, come from a very, I did travel photography before this. For me, so that's what, for me, the space is very inspiring, right? And obviously, when I'm doing my lighting, I'm trying to emulate what the place has to offer, not trying to artificially inflate something. Right? For example, if you take before the pre-climax sequence where Mohan sir is facing off Vijay sir's character, we shot it in a broken mill in Pondicherry, and we haven't used much lights there. There was one light for the for the artists, but the rest of it, the beauty of that is that place was built in 1600s or something. They have built it so beautifully that back then there wouldn't have been any lights or whatever. So they only had natural light, right? So they designed that building according to the sun.
Okay, interesting.
So in the morning there are beautiful rays, in the evening there are beautiful rays. So when we use a lot of smoke to emulate
Enhance
that
the
depth,
lights, yeah.
enhance that. So that's how we shot the whole scene. And we had light beams, and there was all real light beams.
Just to kill it for the artist
That's
alone.
it.
That's it.
Yeah.
Okay.
And then few lights in the background to enhance wherever there's like patches. But most of it was real light, natural light. So we are using what nature has to offer. We're using what that particular building, obviously the architects of that building had constructed it with a certain thought in mind. Right? Because that is how we use history. That is how we use architecture in our films currently. So when I worked, I worked on Life of Pi on the on-set VFX theme. So the first day that I went on set was we were shooting in Pondicherry at a church, the church where the boy comes in and he's talking to the father, right? Now, Hollywood doesn't use too many lights, if you think of it. It's very natural, like Claudio Miranda, who is the DOP of the film. I've observed and seen that they don't use much lighting. Like the classroom sequence, there's just one light. And there were sequences where he didn't use any lights whatsoever.
Theatre விட்டு வெளியே வந்த first day, I was like running. One question was running in my mind, sir. I wanted to ask it to you. What was the exact camera and lenses that you have used in the film? Sir?
So we had, that's what we had experimented a lot on this film. So I early on, I realized there are two timelines, and obviously there's VFX. Also, there is Vijay sir in the film. So, which means that, I had to obviously treat it in a certain way, right? But we also wanted to break the mold of like treating it when the grammar of the film was being discussed. VP sir and I, we sat down and we were like, okay, how do we see this film? Like, what is it? How do we want to see this? How do we see this world? And the discussion was that once the to keep the action aside and the the songs and dance routine aside, even though there also we did, after a point we kind of went full on the the creative aspect of it. We want to treat it very real, like, because it's a story of a upper middle class / middle class,
A common man,
middle
kinda
class,
common.
a common man, right? So the reference was, it obviously was Family Man, right?
Yeah.
So it's like the Family Man meets Jason Bourne meets Mission Impossible was my reference for the film. If you look at the visual grammar of it, obviously the action sequences are all stylized. If you look at Jason Bourne Identity, is one of my favorite films. It's very real. It feels like it's happening real time, right? And that's how we treated the film. It's a common man. Like, we wanted Gandhi to be
The boy next door kind of thing.
Exactly. Like, this person in real life. Yeah, that this person could live, you could be your neighbor.
Okay, yeah, exactly. Just like I'm out to get a newspaper, I could pick a person, and that's Gandhi.
Absolutely.
So I see it that way.
So we didn't glamorize it too much, obviously, but kept it real. But obviously there's lighting, there's obviously that cinematic element is there. And if you look at the lensing, it is we had used master anamorphics for the 2008 timeline. And post that, after a point, I realized that I needed a little bit more, because the current timeline goes into a more serious, more darker space, if you can call it that. And I had used Atlas anamorphics for Vendathanindathkadu. So it's one of my favorite lenses, and I brought them on board. So the current timeline was all Atlas anamorphics. And obviously with the VFX team wanted more space, because anamorphic lenses, the frame is fixed. You can't you don't have much freedom to move the frame. So they wanted, once the double action started and all of that, they wanted a little bit more freedom to do VFX. So we used signature primes after a certain point. And Matta song I shot with Blackwing 7 lenses. Yeah. To give it a little bit more texture, a little bit more character.
Venkat Prabhu உங்களுக்கு initial narration சொல்லும்போது, while you hear to the initial narration, Venkat Prabhu has also quoted that he loves technology, and that's the reflection where we see the de-aging technology and the face tracking stuffs, everything. உங்களுக்கு technically I need to bring in technology அப்படின்ற zoneல anything demanded you, like I need this technology for cinematography அப்படின்ற initial narration?
Yeah, we obviously had to do movement for double action. Right, obviously with the traditional equipment that we don't have that freedom to do movement per se. So we use the Mokobot for that. So because Mokobot can do we can program the movement. So we obviously use a Mokobot for double action movement sequences. And then we used long lenses for action sequences to keep the action very intimate by avoiding the other the double character. So obviously if the stunt double was on this side and Vijay sir was on the other side, we used long lenses, so this stunt double becomes very extremely blurred out. So we had to improvise a lot for these things. Yeah.
So any special tricks that has been made for this film? So like we could see many fast moving shots, even the bike chasing shots in that was done.
So
in
we
Moscow.
had used something called the Russian arm, which is like a very Hollywood equipment. When we shot the Moscow chase sequence, we used the Russian arm to film them. So for 4 days we shot that. In that 2 days Vijay sir did Gandhi's character, and 2 days Sir did Jeevan's character. So it was actually Vijay sir riding the bike. So what the Russian arm is basically, it's like a Jimmy Jib on a very sturdy Jimmy Jib on a car.
Yeah, I could see that in Fast and the Furious, that truck chasing scene.
Yeah. So we use that for this sequence, and I don't think it's available in India, if I'm not wrong. In India, it's improvised, it's stuff like that, but this is the actual Russian arm which we have used. And it's like, so basically, if the bike is on the road, the car is ahead and the camera is facing the Jimmy Jib is actually facing the car, and we are going forward, and I'm sitting in the car with the monitor, and the remote, the operator is next to me. So we kind of do the rehearsal, like how does the camera move? Is it going to be like moving left to right or top to bottom, or at a certain angle? So these things are discussed before, and we rehearse it, and then once we do the action, and the wild part is that the road is like only 15 feet long, and we had like cars parked on this side. That's because we don't have control on that, right? We just close the beginning and the end, and so the stunt driver is riding in front, driving the car and he's belting it. He's like going at like extremely high speed, and I'm like holding the monitor and giving instructions. Okay, go left, go left. So it's like adrenaline rush for 4 days. It was so much fun, and by God's grace, we
That one bike
managed it.
scene has been shot for 4 days.
Yeah. Because it's double action also, no?
I could see that for 4 to 5 minutes hardly, sir. But it takes even 4 long days to capture it. Like,
Yeah. In fact,
Okay.
we needed more.
okay.
Yeah.
So get us a walkthrough experience on the making of the miniature train scenes,
Right.
the initial shot.
So the first sequence is one of my favorite sequences because we had to improvise so much on that, right? Because it had to be a mixed reality kind of shoot, because we obviously don't have permission to shoot inside the train. That would have taken a lot of time, and so what we did was we did sets. We shot in real location in Tunisia with the train in the desert, in the Sahara desert, and we did miniature for the explosions. So only when you mix all of them and use intercut between the three, you don't get to know which is what.
Which is, yeah, exactly.
And also the edit. Like I think editor Venkatarajan has done such a fantabulous job. The precise cutting point, just before the make-believe goes away, you cut it.
Yeah.
Right?
Fast cut, fast motion. Like
Yeah.
every frame switches so fast.
Yeah, switches from reality to CG to miniature. So when it happens that way is when, and also we use a lot of moving lights, just to create a little bit more tension, just a little bit of drama.
You had a kind of shakiness in the frames as well.
Yes. So we do a lot of handheld, for stunts especially. We like to keep it very intimate in the be involved. So the camera is dancing along with the action. So it's like a dance.
Let us know about this metro fight scene and the Chepakam, the climax, where the cricket stadium.
That's what, the Chepoks, the climax is the key part of it, and we've treated it very really. We shot the climax sequence in Trivandrum Cricket Stadium and Chepok, and also the set. So again, it becomes a mixed reality, and people don't know which is what.
Just like the opening scene, the ending scene also.
And we had to do that for all the action sequences because, for example, Metro, you can't, literally, we shot in the real Metro for I think 4 nights. And but we had permission to shoot only between 1 in the night, 1 a.m. to 4 a.m.
Okay, just 3 hours.
Just 3 hours, because that's when the line stops. Like 11:45 or something, the line stops. By the time the train comes to us, it becomes almost 12:31, and by the time we begin filming, it becomes 1. And actually, that's like a very hard call sheet, because if you start by 9 p.m. or something, you're kind of warmed up by 11, and then you can continue shooting. Your body is tired because you want to sleep, and 1 a.m. you start working. To warm up, there's no time, and by the time you warm up, it's 4 o'clock. So it's like a graveyard shift, I feel, and it was very, very difficult. But we only had permission in those hours. So because of that, we obviously, the fight obviously couldn't have been shot there. So we went and shot it on set. So we had a real life replica of the cabin, and we shot the action sequence. We replicate the moving lights and all of that to create the realism of the space. Yeah.
Sir, in Solumode, there was miniature, there was sets, and there was the real actual figure. We couldn't find any differences in all 3 scenes, be it Chepak, be it opening train scene, be it metro scene. Edit, you credit edit. I credit edit and the camera as well, because on the angles, so depth.
And the production design.
Yeah, maybe the production design.
Yeah, because Rajivan sir's sets, it's like it's obviously adds the realism to the whole space. So yeah.
This is the first film, blue screens na paakren. 2000 plus CG shots of the movie.
Yeah.
So for the first time you are experiencing it. Idellame the converted visuals irukku. We see the theaters on the canvas, the converted visuals, not the blue screen, the actual footage. So from the blue screen to the final out, how did it fascinates you?
Actually, this project has been so fascinating for me because I saw this whole thing firsthand collaborated with so many people, and I had to obviously, commend our director, Mr. Venkat Prabhu sir, because to think that this has to be done. Like, you could have easily said that no, we'll do something else, right? Do some other subject altogether. But to stick to that and say that no, we have to do this, we will do this. And I think the captain of the ship is the one who, like, pushes us to. And then the trust that, hey, we got you, now we just execute it. And just hand holding, and there's so much of trust, there's so much, because you trust the others who you're collaborating with. You trust, the stunt coordinator, you trust the production designer, you trust, all these, and the CG team. There's a lot of camaraderie and a lot of trust when you're executing it, because when you're shooting on blue screen, you don't know what's going to be out there, but the people who are going to do it, the people who have done this over the years. And there's a lot of trust in in the abilities of others, and we are all holding each other and planning it and making it happen. So I think I saw that firsthand here, and it gives me a lot of confidence for like doing more in the future, and I'd like to continue doing more.
Super, sir. Looking
God
forward
willing,
to
yeah.
your awaiting works. And while talking about this face tracking, sir, like de-aging is like super exceptional. We loved it. And the teenage version of Vijay sir has the face tracking, if I'm not wrong. Were you working with that, the anchor points, like how the Gemini Man was filmed?
So the VFX didn't need the tracking points. So I think technology has moved on from there, and it was for the 17-year-old character you're talking
exactly
about. That was deep fake AI, if I'm not wrong. I think it's one of those AI technologies. We had to do a little bit of so obviously it's a nascent thing, because the facial there's no reference point for that. So it was like you feed a certain information to the computer and it gives you the output, right? And it's obviously a merge between Vijay sir's younger facial features with the actual character who played the role. And we had to do a little bit of there's a little bit of plasticity in the image, which we tried to cover it up in DI, in color grading. So we used a plugin called Bleach Bypass, basically, which crushes the highlights, which blows out the highlights and crushes the blacks. So it was used in films like Seven and Black Dahlia, and if I'm not wrong, and yeah. So there are movies which have used this technique before, and we use that as a plugin, because right now we're in the digital era, and so we use Bleach Bypass, and also made it use film LUTs, ARRI LUTs and film LUTs to make it a bit more, so the plasticity goes away from the skin, the shininess, because if you look at AI images, there's a little bit of plasticity. The texture won't be there. It'll be like a clean skin. So all that, we added a little bit of grain to make it more, a grainy film-like image.
What are all your future projects? Where or what can we see?
I'm talking to a Telugu project next.
It was a beautiful conversation with you. It was not just like an interview, it was a masterclass for me and our cameramans as well. And thank you so much, and meets a lot for your time.
My pleasure, and thank you for asking me very good questions.
Thank you. Thank you so much, sir.
Appreciate it.
Girly Colours in office and college wear kurtis price starts from 299. Visit GirlyColours.in.
MadRabbit, India's finest audio wearable brand, starting at 999.